Okay, my friends, it's done. The 53rd White Marlin Open is in the books officially, and I have so much to tell you. It was exciting. 334 boats, one inlet, and on day one, 17 boats went out. 17. Everybody else looked at that sky. They looked at each other and they went, nah, we're good. We'll wait. And honestly, respect to that. When you've only got 3 days out of 6 to make your whole season count, you do not waste one just to prove a point to the weather. So weather was the strategy. I was on Harbor Island during the captain's check-in, which was Saturday and Sunday. And the anglers were talking about it. Captains were talking about it. The weather was the strategy, and Monday was definitely out for a lot of folks. So that's how the week started. A little nervous, a lot of anticipation. And by the time those scales closed for good on Saturday night, I was standing there thinking, this is exactly why I love this tournament. It was epic. The names on these boats really do tell you everything. Who's a legend? Who's building a legacy, and who's just straight up legit having the week of their life. I particularly enjoyed the stories of families on Captain's Check-In. That vibe is about, the families, the boat, the story, and the Pohanka automotive team, Pohanka Mercedes-Benz, Pohanka Commercial. We were on the ground there, and, we had giveaways and just really enjoyed being a part of that energy. This is the Daily Acorn. I'm your host, Shauna Kearsley. Thank you for joining me here. Small seed, mighty oak is what we do in this space. So if you caught the first part of this series, you know what we're doing. 334 boats, and not one of them was named boat. I was surprised about that. Every captain made a choice. A joke, perhaps. A tribute, for sure. A dare. Yeah. And now the fish are weighed. The money is moving. And do we have a story to tell you? So this is the White Marlin Open edition. This is the vibe. This is just the way I experienced it. And I hope you enjoy it. So step to the front. Let's talk about the crown that changed hands twice. Yes. So bullpen comes out swinging early. Day 3. The James Hood, he lands a 70-pound white marlin. And suddenly this boat is sitting on a projected $5.6 million. Everybody's talking about it. Legend status, locked in, day 3 of 6. It was exciting. And then day 4. Mr. P rolls up with an 80-pounder. Angler Bill Sharp, and just like that, the whole leaderboard flips. By the time Saturday wrapped, Mr. Pete's fish stood as the biggest check of the entire tournament, about $3.5 million. I love this part of the story, honestly, because bullpen didn't do anything wrong. They showed up exactly when their name promised. Bullpen. Relief pitching right on time. Nobody remembers the setup man's stats. They remember he showed up. Bullpen did that. Mr. P just did it bigger. This is White Marlin. All right. The Queen of the Blue. Yeah, this one. Katie Sawyer calls her the Queen of the Blue. Yes, I fangirl Katie Sawyer. Okay. If you only remember one thing from this whole season, Let it be this, guys. Max Bet. I love that name already. Brings in the only qualifying blue marlin of the entire week. 607.5 pounds, caught by angler Kelly Weber, and the tournament's own feed, the Marlin Cam, which we were glued to, which is amazing. If we can go back and rewatch some of that stuff, so much information in there. I am radical curiosity to the max. So that was just amazing for me. I stumbled on Katie Sawyer last year, met her this year. That was amazing. Fangirling over here. So their own live feed said it themselves, and they said it best. Let's hear it for the girls. I got chills just hearing that. Here's the wild part. In the moment, right? In the moment, you got to think and try to feel this. That fish was projected at $5.2 million. By the time all the math settled, all the added entry levels got tallied, it came down to about 1.2 million. Oof, still amazing money. And I want to be really clear. That is not a story about losing money. This isn't about story about losing money. Check this out. That's a story about a crown getting reappraised live in real time in front of everybody and holding anyway. Oh my God, I held my breath for them. I said prayers. I wanted it to hold, but I'm like, woof, bring it. She was the only qualifier in the entire Blue Marlin division, the whole ocean, one fish, her name on it. Let's say her name. I like saying her name. Kelly Weber. Kelly Weber. So, Queen of the Blue. I'm not being cute. That's just accurate. And she wasn't out there alone either. So, Kelly Sawyer said that. The tournament director, she said it flat out this week. Here's what she said. We're seeing whole teams of women now, not just the occasional angler. And one of the things I have to say, like in our community here in the Eastern Shore, Ocean City, where we are, Worcester County, you know, the Eastern Shore of Delmarva, we have a lot of women tournaments now. We've got the Poor Girls, which is, you know, jamming it. So we have Tunas and Tiara. Those women are hot business. So we are seeing whole teams of women that are actually showing up, and they are just bringing a lot of excitement. One woman, check this out. One woman made a last-minute call to fish this year and ended up on the leaderboard. This was the year, y'all. This was genuinely the year. All right, let's talk about the double. There's Gray Fox. And listen, this boat just would not quit. John Wardlaw takes the tuna category with a 179-pound big eye tuna. Over $1 million right there. And then comes back and takes Wahoo. 69.5 pounds. Another $72,000 right there. Same boat. Same angler. Same week. That's not luck. That's just showing up twice. That was awesome. The name, okay, this part we're going to have to talk about it because I couldn't do the story well without saying this part. And we all love this part, right? This is about the name that is bigger than the catch. And of course, Catch 23, Michael Jordan's boat. Catch 23 held the lead for a hot minute on Wednesday. And that lead was projected at 5.6 million. And by Friday, Catch 23 ran out of days, no qualifying fish, shut out. I'm going to say this lovingly. Some names carry more weight than the catch ever needs to. That's catch 23 in a nutshell. What I love that's not on any leaderboard, okay? Here's the part I actually want to tell you about, because the scales only tell you half the story. I spent this week on Harbor Island just talking to captains at check-in and families, family boats, 3 generations deep, sitting right next to the spreadsheet, the strategy boats. Both kinds were out there, both kinds of people absolutely certain they got it figured out. So that energy was a lot of fun on Arbor Island when the captains were checking in on Saturday and Sunday. I absolutely love that energy. We met the grandchildren, all of it. And I also got to meet Katie C. Sawyer, and I'll just own it. I fangirled a little bit. She's got her own podcast, digging into the science side of all of this. And I love that part of what she does. I am radically curious. So she is perfect for my spirit. She digs into the science side of this whole fishing world, marlin tagging, migration research, the Great Marlin Race. And I'm going to dig into that because I definitely want to just, really follow that. Different lens than mine because I'm a newbie who just found a mentor / somebody that I fangirl. So I'm excited about following her journey. So her lens are definitely different than mine, but it is the same kind of hunger to actually understand the thing instead of just watching it go by. Radical curiosity is my favorite kind of person to be in a room with, the radical curious. And honestly, my favorite moment of the whole week wasn't even at the scales. It was at Seabourn Seafood, where I picked up my dinner. And one of the anglers, a female angler, off of Catch 23, Julia, came in to grab her dinner for the boat. They were having sea bass. This was on Sunday. And we talked, we laughed. No cameras were rolling. I did get a picture, though. Nothing performative about it. Just women, community members on the dock who had a long week and was just excited about White Marlin, the vibrations and the energy of West Ocean City, looking forward to all of it. And we were just crossing paths over fish on the docks at Seabourn Seafood. Right here, ocean, Eastern, and that's an Eastern Shore scene. If I would ever had to pick one, that was brilliant. The evenings were cocktails and mocktails, the Real Inn and the dock bar right there. We had dockside going. Watching the leaderboard shift was very exciting. We had customers and potential people coming up who knew, the Pohanka team and San D'Angelo and Pohanka leadership. So that was a lot of fun. They talked about their vehicles. They entered. Sponsors brought so much energy this year. I really love that. The giveaways, great giveaways, by the way. I did get a drive bag from Science, I think that's how you say it, and they make equipment for boats, technology for the boats, and they were pretty awesome. So the sponsors brought so much energy this year with the big personalities. The whole thing felt like a festival, not just a fishing tournament. And of course, big shout out to Marlin Fest, which was at the Hugh Cropper Inlet, which was wildly successful right there on the boardwalk and on the beach. So at the inlet, we were able to enjoy what I like to call the March of the Boats, which is the boat parade in the morning. And you got to get out there at like 3 a.m. in the morning. If you're following me on Facebook or Substack, you'll get to see some of it here. And the boats are going out. It is dark. They're heading out to go fishing that day. Their lights are on. The energy is peaceful. It is just magical. Right? So that's what happens in the morning with the March of the Boats. And for me personally, I'm going to say none of this happens the way it did without my friends Shapanik and Wagner. Shapanik handed me the keys to his condo at Laguna Vista overlooking the scales, and I was able to get out of the very crowded spaces when I got a little bit overwhelmed. Best part, parking included, did not have to fight for parking. No questions asked. Thank you, Shapanik. Hope you're enjoying your Ford Maverick. He loves his Ford Maverick, by the way. So during White Marlin Open Week, that is what I call Delmarva hospitality at its finest. And for that, guys, I am most grateful. Got some wonderful pics. Check those out online here. I want to take a moment and talk about every name. This is where I'm going to talk about a dear friend who's no longer with us. Every name on the registration list, the boat names, is somebody's little act of memory. The boat names, right? This is mostly about the boat names and the legacy and the history and the heritage and the tribute that these boat names carry. So every name on the registration list is somebody's little act of memory. So here is mine for this year, the 53rd. None of this energy that I'm bringing to the White Marlin Open, which is mine, which is I create my White Marlin. You know, I make a list and I try to write my own story during White Marlin. And that's exactly what happened here this year. And it was absolutely epic. None of this happens without the Jarvis. Long before I knew what a White Marlin even was, before I understood Calcuttas or added entry levels, I'm still learning a lot more, or any of it, it was the Jarvis who stirred something inside of me. History, heritage, a spirit that just said, Shauna, go out and go find out what's out there. Right? Jarvis was in a wheelchair and he would just give it to me, you know, the history, the heritage of Ocean City, the connections. And he just encouraged me to go out and find out what is out there. That is the part of me this whole tournament lives in. Not the part doing math on prize money. We don't care about that. The part that gets curious and just won't let go. Every name on every transom this week was somebody's version of that same instinct. Mine just happens to be a person. Mine just happens to be the Jarvis instead of a fish. So here's what I'm leaving you with, my Acorn family. 334 boats. A crown that changed hands twice. A queen of the blue who held her title through a $5 million swing, a boat named Too Famous for Its Own Good, and a whole lot of good people who make this week what it was. If you named your boat tomorrow, my friends, right now, no fish yet, what would it be? If you named your boat, what would it be? Legend? Would it be legacy? Or just straight up legit? I hope that you guys are dealing hope out there today. Thank you for listening, thinking, and growing. This is Shauna Kearsley, and thank you for joining me here on the Daily Acorn here on Acorn Bay for the White Marlin Open 53. See you next year.